Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Interesting. Check 1, 2. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Okay. Let's see. We need to set up a quick shortcut for that. Use that button right there. Add. Find function audio on. And that's going to be number 14. Let's just make it audio, not audio on. Audio is 14. Okay. And then we'll do another one. The same button. That is audio. And a different input, number 18. And so if 18 is on and 14 is off, this shortcut should swap them. Check 1, 2. 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 Yep, that does it. All right, very good. Very good, very good, very good. Hey, guys and gals. Michael and Marie and OG Gamer, who only wants cash. And let's see, who else have I missed? Tim is here. Welcome. Tim just joined the Streaming Idiots group. Welcome, Tim. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Vitale. Ah, yes. Welcome. Larry's here. Good to have you. Glad to have you. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, today's going to be interesting. It's a, I got my clock back. It's a PC that we're about ready to send out of here. And I just thought, it was such a labor of love. I just wanted to share it with you. So we'll do that. Yeah. John didn't have anything to do with the Facebook breakdown. He didn't, huh? Well, that's good to know. Yeah. You are overly bright today as the light over you is too bright. Yeah, that's because I've got to light up that table over there. So I've got a little extra up light or down light than I normally do. So I am probably overexposed. Just teasing. Sorry, couldn't help that. Tim says the lighting looks great to him. Well, thank you, Tim. I did make sure when I relamped the studio here, I've got those 4-foot fluorescent tube lights. And when I relamped, hey, Corey's here, welcome. He's tall boy. When I relamped, I made sure that the lighting color temperature matched the lighting in the studio lights, so that if I had to leave those on for any reason like this, that it wouldn't, the camera wouldn't be confused as to what the color temperature was. So there we go. That is the story behind that. Pure, plain and simple. So yeah, I think we're running about, I think it's 5,000 K. K is for Kelvin, Kelvin, which is the measure of color in what's called degrees Kelvin. So it's 5,000 K, 5,000. Actually, it's, 5,000 K. And the K is not for 1,000. The K is for Kelvin. Hey, Michael, welcome. Unity of Citrus County. We have a PC probably 2/3 built for them. Yep. And Corey is trying to see what he can learn today. All right. Corey is all about learning. I love that attitude. Love that attitude. And Paulo is here. Let's see. Hello. Does the i5 1000 generation can handle 2 NDI sources plus streaming? i5 1000 generation. Probably not. That's probably just a dual core PC. So you want to get up and you want to just check the spec on that i5 and see if it's a dual core, which it probably is. They do make some i5s that are quad cores, and I think that's probably what you're looking for. Yep. Hey, Ron. Good to see you have. Oh, 10th generation. Ah, well, that's a different story. Yeah, do you have the model number? And welcome from Brazil. Yep. So if it's an i5, 10570, 10620, whatever it might be. And we can look that up pretty easily. Yeah, Ron, the PC that we're gonna look at today is actually a 16 camera input. The i5 10400. All right, so let's look that up real quickly. Can we do that? Bring up a website here. i5 10400 CPU is up to 4.3 gigahertz, so that can be pretty speedy. And what I'm looking for is the ark.intel.com page on this processor, because that's the information that's directly from the manufacturer. So the launch date was the second quarter of 2020. Recommended customer price $182, so that's pretty good value. It's a 6-core with 12 threads, so that's going to be a pretty beefy PC, beefy CPU. So yes, it should be able to handle 2 NDIs and streaming, I would say, pretty well. If you're using vMix, you want to make sure you have 16 gigs of RAM with it, because vMix does need the 16 gigs of RAM. And let's see, is that one that is not a K processor, so you can't overclock it, but it has a turbo frequency of 4.3, so that should be more than adequate. Looking at the specs here, somebody else may have some folks comments that they would like to join in with too. And of course, like all systems with vMix definitely benefits. Hey, Clint, vMix definitely benefits by having a video card with the NVIDIA chipset. The highest number, the better. Currently we're in the 30 series, which is going to be like the 3060, 3070, 3080, 3090, and then some variations of supers and TIs in those. He's got a GTX 1660. Yep, you're good. You're good. In the vMix settings, since you've got 6 gigabytes, let me just double check it. But on the performance tab, you can check the high input performance mode for graphics cards with 3 gigabytes of memory plus. Currently today, we're running a RTX 2080 Ti in this system, and the system I'm going to show you has got a 3080 Ti, so it's going to be fun. How are we doing on time? We should have started a minute ago. Sorry about that. Clint, how's the weather in Kentucky? I bet the trees are changing or fixing to. We're finally getting a little bit of moderate weather here. Yep. And Mike, we're coming down. Well, actually, we're not coming down your way this weekend. We're going over to the east coast of Florida, to the Atlantic side, to Daytona Beach. Doing an install there. We'll talk about that in just a second. Just a second. Oh, Paulo, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Happy to share knowledge about that. I mean, I've been through, I don't know how many hundreds of different processors over the years. And I mean, obviously not all different ones, but using the same one over and over again and kind of finding the sweet spot between performance and cost and now availability. That's a big deal. So, for example, the 30 series graphics cards are just beginning, I think, to become moderately available. B&H Photo is a good source. If you're not in a hurry, you can get on the waiting list for a card, and they'll actually reserve a card for you when they get it in and give you, I think, 48 hours to make your purchase, something like that. Check that out. That's a good way to get a card. And the prices there are far more reasonable than you'll find on Amazon or eBay or something like that. Plus, you're buying it from a distributor that is buying from, I would assume, the manufacturer. And so there's a, kind of a clean chain of custody. You're not buying a gray card, as it were. Upper 70s in Kentucky. Holy cow. 96 in West Texas. 67 today. Oh my gosh. Gee whiz. Otis is here. He's from Houston. That would be, is that considered East Texas or South Texas? My Texas geography is just, it's not there. Not there. I know where Texas is. I was talking with somebody from Galveston this morning. Galveston's on the coast. All right, well, let's get the show on the road now that Otis is here. And 84 in Atlanta. Thank you, Corey. Michael Graves is here. Welcome, Michael. Glad to have you. Michael has got a new electrical monitoring system on his home electrical service that allows him to monitor how much electricity he's using on a daily basis. That's cool stuff. If this were a show about electricity, he would be my next guest. Southeast Texas is Houston at 98 degrees. Oh, Lord, but it's probably a dry heat. That's what they say. That's what they say. Okay, let's get the show on the road. We'll be back with the start of the Streaming Idiot Show right now. Well, we're back, and this is Streaming Idiots. I'm so delighted to be in front of you today. I could be behind you. It all depends on where your TV or your what are you watching on? Are you watching on a TV, a big screen TV? That's a scary thought, me on a big screen TV, or on a computer monitor, or on a tablet, a Microsoft Surface, Galaxy S whatever telephone. Yeah, you could be. What are you listening on? It's the audio that's much more important than the video. If the audio is not good, it doesn't matter how good the video is. It's just like, I'll find something else to watch. Or if there's a hum or a buzz or a background noise, we've talked a lot about that over the years. And Vitali has got us on 4 monitors today. Holy cow. And Maria's got us on the TV in the living room. Oh my gosh. Tim has got us on an iPhone 12 and Paulo is on a smartphone. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you just never know how people are going to, and Clint, you're the man. Clint has got us on the big screen. And his phone, so he can chat. He's at us in 2 places at the same time. Oh my golly. Gee whiz. That's great. That's fun. It's fun stuff, isn't it? It's fun to do all this video stuff. But now I've lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. The train never really had a chance. That train was going off the track. Ooh. Corey's on an LG V60 foldable. Oh my gosh. So you can just fold me right up. So Marie was very sharp this morning and she said, Tom, your lighting is different. And yes, my lighting is different. My lighting is different because I have overhead lighting on today. But I did make sure when I relamped this overhead lighting. It was the old fluorescent tubes, you know, the F40s, 4-foot tube. And I made sure that when I got the new ones in, and I basically I pulled out all the bulbs, whether they were working or not, because they were old and they weren't putting out as many lumens as they used to. And so I got LED lights, and with the LED lights, I could make sure that I was getting a specific color temperature measured in degrees Kelvin, Kelvin. These are 5,000 degrees Kelvin, or 5,000 K, and they match my studio lights, which are adjustable, except for that one. But those are all 5,000 K as well. So my camera doesn't have to sort of search in its color scheme to match colors, because all the light is the same. So if you're setting up a studio, make sure that all your lighting has the same color temperature. And if you add lighting temporarily for a particular purpose, try to make that the same color temperature as well. You'll have better results, and it'll be easier to get your color right. Yep, be easier to get your color right. So today we really want to talk, the reason I shared about the lighting was because I wanted to share over there a PC that we have we finished it? Technically it is finished. Technically it's finished, but it's not closed up. So before I closed it up, I wanted to share it with you because I was really, really excited about the project. Here's the project. The project is the city of Daytona Beach, Florida, has asked us to build a system for them that they can use for multiple purposes. But the biggest, kind of the sexiest purpose is to output instant replay to their brand new, just got it last week, Jumbotron, the big video board. And so they want to have the ability to show the people in the stands watching the football game what the people at home would see if they were watching it on TV, which is instant replay. I mean, haven't you always wanted to see, you know, you were at a live match of some kind and you say, hey, wait, look at that. Yep. And it's gone. And you can't get it back because, you know, you don't have instant replay there. I have some friends that, that used to take their phones with their TV app on it to the football games so that they could watch the game here on their phone when there was a replay. And in fact, the whole phone stream was, you know, probably 30 seconds behind live action or 40 seconds behind live action, so they could get to see it again. And everybody would be looking over at their phone saying, you know, oh, well, look at that. Well, that's the whole idea, except it's going to be on a giant video board. So they said, you know, Tom, we want to output this to a video board, and we'd like to do some cameras. Well, but of course, we'd like to do a variety of inputs and outputs, but sometimes we want the inputs to be outputs, and sometimes we want the outputs to be inputs. Okay, we can handle that. That's a, you know, Blackmagic, you know, deck link, you know, duo or 2 or a quad 2, something like that. And we'd like to have 16 of them. Ah, okay, 16 inputs, which sometimes can be outputs. Okay, so now we've increased the need to process video if we're doing 16 channels of video, which is 2 of those Blackmagic deck link quad 2 cards. You remember the old quad the old quad card was a 4 input, 4 output card. And then Blackmagic reconfigured the firmware, probably added some hardware to it too, so that it would be 8 in, and that some of those inputs could be reconfigured as outputs. And that's when they took the deck link Duo, which was 2 in, 2 out, and made it the Duo 2, which is now 4 in, with some of those 4 having the ability to be out. Obviously not simultaneously. So we've got 2 of these quad 2 cards in there, and then we have a dedicated output card, to go to the video scoreboard, so that no matter what else is going on, we've got a dedicated output going to the video scoreboard. It's a DeckLink Mini monitor, so it's HDMI, so it conceivably could be hooked up to a monitor, but it's also SDI. And I don't know that it does them both simultaneously. I've never tried. I know the input version of that card only works one of those. Will do HDMI input or SDI input. Obviously, it won't do both, but the output might do both at the same time. I'll have to check that. Anyway, they're going to use the SDI portion of that. And then, of course, they want to, in addition to all this, of course, they want to use it as a streamer. Oh, and they'd like to use it as a switcher. Oh, and they'd like to use it as a graphics generator. So it's like, oh, so you want to do replay and switch 16 channels of video and record 16 channels of video and stream 16 channels of video. Well, obviously you're not streaming 16 channels, you're streaming one output, but you might go multiple places. And yeah, we'd like to do that and put it in a little small space so that we can put it in our rack. And I said, sure, we can do that. We can do that. Well, funny thing is I had been testing almost exactly that same footprint, that same spec, 16 in or out, and a replay. And in fact, I think we did a demo of that a while back, and I had hooked up a bunch of NDIs and other things to the system. So, so I had a pretty good idea exactly what we needed, and we built a system for them. And I'm going to take it down there Friday and put it in for them over the weekend, and then next Monday we'll have some training. So it'll be fun to tool on down there and make some friends. And a hat tip to Charles, who's sort of managing this project. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Now the stadium is a stadium that's used by a local university, Bethune-Cookman, as well as local high schools. So the stadium gets a lot of activity. I think it's probably a Thursday, Friday, Saturday type deal, and maybe in some cases multiple games in one day. It previously had a TriCaster system that was sort of on its last legs, and frequently this is what people are doing, is they're pulling out their old TriCaster system and they're getting a vMix system, because it's an open system. This is a Windows PC. Everything in there is I won't say a common component, but it's a not uncommon component. I mean, it's something that you can buy if you want to. In fact, let's walk over there and let's take a look at this, and I'll kind of let you look under the hood and see. Tom says he has one core and it's rotten. Tommy Willis, you're just trouble. All right, let's see. Let me make sure I can switch my audio the way I want to. Yep, that did it. All right, let me get over there. And can we turn on full screen? Yes, we can turn on full screen. Okay. And can we turn on, I don't think I have got the access to turn on that input from there. So let me go ahead and get that input up. And we'll take that off. Okay, there we go. There's the input. All right. Walking over here. So we've got a pretty cool PC. Here are the specs. It's an i9, a 10980XE, which is an 18-core processor. And you think an 18-core processor, it really does need to have a lot of good cooling. So we've got a water cooler here by I guess it's Nexit, NZXT. Nice little system. I enjoyed putting that in. The radiator mounts nicely up here in the front of the case. This is a Silverstone case, and it's designed to accept water cooling, which is not typical of a server case. So it's nice to have the water cooling built into the front. It's got a room for a dual radiator, dual fans, and then of course, it's a server style case, so there's plenty of room for everything else. This is an Asus X99 Prime AI motherboard. with 64 gigs of RAM. It's got a MSI GeForce RTX 3080 Ti card in it, so it's got plenty of horsepower. It does require lots of power, so if you're getting one of those guys, double check your power supply and make sure you've got enough power for that. It's got the 2 cards from Blackmagic, and then right nestled in between down there in that hole is the mini monitor card. 1,000-watt power supply. Really, it's a pretty simple build. Let me tip it up here so you can see what it looks like on the end, on the back plate. So right here, we've got a bank of 8 cameras, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, but the numbering system there from Blackmagic kind of tells you the history of when it used to be a 4-in, 4-out card. So, you know, 1 is here, and then it skips over to 5. And by the way, the one at the bottom is a reference port, which we won't be using. So we've got 8 inputs there, and then our output card, and then 8 more inputs here. And then actually these 3 slots, all 3 of them are really used by the video card, which gives us 4 outputs. 3 of them are DisplayPort, and 1 of them is HDMI, and then of course the regular back plate from the motherboard. Not fancy. We did kind of doll this one up a little bit. We replaced the fans that came with it with some high efficiency, high output fans from Noctua. And in addition to being high efficiency fans, they're also really, really quiet. And so that's going to help, because this is going to go in the control room. Not that that the control room needs a lot of silence, but it's not going to add a lot of extra noise to it. And the fans in the front are pretty quiet too. And then of course you've got triple fans here on the graphics card, and then 2 fans on each one of the of the 2 Blackmagic cards, and then the fan built into the power supply as well. So you've got a ton of fans. So what we can tell, though, is that this is really a beast of a PC. It really is. 18 cores of processing. I ran it on some pretty heavy tests the other day, and I couldn't get the temperatures above 50 degrees with the water cooling. That's 50 centigrade. And so I was really, really pleased with that. And even with all the tests I could throw at it, I think I was only able to get 1 or 2 cores up to about 60%. So there's lots of headroom, I think, in this little guy. It's going to be fun to take it down and install it. And we've got a 16-port back plate that looks a little bit like this guy, except this one, of course, only has 8 ports. So we'll be connecting a adapter cable from the little mini SDI ports back here on the back to the full-size SDIs here. And then they can plug cameras in directly, or I think in the case of the city of Daytona Beach, it's going to go into a Blackmagic router system of some kind. Yeah, this is actually for another system that we're sending out for another video board in another city that'll just have 8 cameras with it. It'll be a little bit more normal, shall we say? Okay, so let's come back over here to the desk and see if we can go to the main shot. There we go. All right. So 1,000-watt power supply. That's right. Yep. And so the keys that we were thinking about were temperature. Got to keep it cool. Power. Got to make sure everything's got enough power. And I think I calculated, I think I've got like 400 350 watts may be more than I need, but that's okay because the 1,000-watt power supply over time is going to decrease in the amount of power that it's able to put out. So this should hold them off 6-7 years before it may need to be replaced. Let's see. So we got heat, we've got power. Oh, and noise, and we wanted to try to keep the noise down. Yeah, Michael, I have to check on the NICs. I don't remember off the top of my head whether it was a gig or a 10 gig, or whether, yeah, there's just one. So we'll have to check that. We'll have to check that. What other recommendations did we have on that? It's stuffed full of solid state drives, because we want to do replay scratch drive, as well as a recording drive, as well as a drive for operating system and software. So we've got 3 M.2s. And what else would we be? Ken says, all that excess power will just leak onto the floor and make a mess. Well, if that's the case, it's not my floor. It won't be my mess. Oh my gosh. Larry says, does this motherboard and vMix use all 18 cores and 36 threads? Yes. Between vMix and FFmpeg, and they're also going to be doing Dante audio and NDI inputs and outputs. So, together with all of that, I feel pretty sure that that each thread will have some action. And the key is, of course, not to make any one or two threads, 1 or 2 cores, carry all the weight. So we have looked at that and have found that it's done a pretty good job. And I think Martin Sinclair was talking about distributing vMix over multiple cores in a video. I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was a year or more ago, and didn't anticipate that there would really ever be a problem on that. The Silverstone model number is, let's see, it's rack mount chassis series. And hold on a second. Got the case right here. We'll pull it right off the case. Hold on, don't go anywhere. It is model number SST RM42-502. That's Sam Tom Ricky Michael 42502. And it was a little hard to find. Well, it wasn't hard to find. It was easy to find. It was just hard to find somebody that had them in stock. So I make sure that I keep a couple of them on hand, so that I've got kind of a buffer between what people want and what I can supply. I've done the same thing with video cards. Have a slew of video cards in stock right now, and a slew of power supplies, because at one point power supplies were hard to come by. So we're trying to kind of buffer ourselves against the uncertainty of the supply chain, which is just super wacky these days. Super wacky. Not cheap. No, Patrick, I think I paid, my cost was probably about 200, maybe 180, something like that. Not sure. The motherboard on this one is the X299 Prime A, and then 2 little baby eyes. Prime AI. Prime AI. I think it's still available, but there are other X299s out there, and this is, of course, the one from Asus. I just have been an Asus fan. I've had good results with them. Every now and then we'll get a bad board, and we'll just send it out, and we've been sending it to the warranty center. I mean, there are times when obviously we're going to pick up on the fact that the board's bad in time to return it wherever we bought it. But sometimes a board will sit on the shelf here for a little while, and we won't use it until it's kind of out of that distributor warranty situation. So it has to go back to the manufacturer. And what we've found a lot of times, in the last 6 months at least, that the boards we've sent to ASUS to be repaired under warranty, they're just replacing them because they don't have parts. So they take our board and they throw it in a pile, I guess, to fix whenever they get parts, and they're sending us a new board. So we're always happy about that. Yep. Tommy says, you're using baby parts to make a computer. Did you get that from Fauci? Baby parts. No, I'm not using baby parts, Tommy. These are full-grown parts. these are full-grown parts. Yep. So it's the fun thing about it has been to have had enough experience over the years of putting together systems for myself, for other people, and then professionally for other people. And then also in that process, building, different prototype systems to say, vMix says that this will work. But before I put my name on it and send it out to somebody else, I'm gonna build one over here on the bench, a bench PC, and test the tar out of that and make sure that it really, really worked the way I want it to. Yep. Michael says, which part of the setup will be using the GPU? Great question, Michael. Obviously, vMix is going to use the GPU for processing video. It's going to use the cache memory in the GPU. Oh, that reminds me, I need to expand that guy. It's going to use the cache memory in the GPU to store graphics, videos, things like that. And then the FFmpeg, I think, will use part of the GPU for the processing, the hardware encoder portion, of which there are now 3, to do the streaming, and then the processing for the recording. So the video card will get kind of lots of use. Ken Benedict says, I am still using one of your suitcase systems on a weekly basis. Yes, I guess it was maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago now, had an opportunity to buy a whole bunch. I would say a lot, meaning a auction lot, a grouping of portable computer systems that had been used for who knows what, and they were beat to death and pretty well obsolete. I think there was an i7 4770 CPU in them. And I bought a bunch of them because I like the case. It's a portable case, has a handle, screen folds down. The keyboard folds down and there's the screen. And it's really, really handy. And we basically have gutted them except for the keyboard and the screen, and put in new power supply, motherboard, graphics card, capture card, anything and everything that goes in there. And they're great for people that are doing a lot of mobile live streaming. So I was talking to somebody this morning that has an old vMix Go, and that's what these were modeled after, the old vMix Go. And they use it at the high school football stadium, and then they take it back and use it in the studio too. What would my normal price be at for this beast? I think this beast was around $15K. Patrick's asking, can the processor do the resizable bar option? Processor can, motherboard can, and of course the graphics card can. Yes, indeed. Byron Lindsay. Oh, there we go. It says, what are the prices for the cards? The graphics cards, the last batch of graphics cards that came in, I paid anywhere from $450 to maybe 1150, depending on the model number for the card. And I was happy to get them at those prices. Yep. Yep. Vitalis says that the NVIDIA cards now have 3 encoders unblocked due to the driver update last year. That is correct. That is correct. And it is the hardware encoder inside of the graphics card that vMix is able to use using FFmpeg kind of under the covers that really offloads a lot of the heavy lifting from the processor to the graphics card. But remember, NDI does not, or at least last time I checked, was not using the graphics card for processing. So all of the video for NDI is being processed by the CPU, by the main processor. So that makes a big heavy duty CPU required, even though we've got a big heavy duty GPU as well. Yep, good. Thanks for all the questions. That's good. If I missed your question, pop it back up there again, because I'm just kind of catching them as they roll across the screen here. It was a fun system to build. I mean, the prototype was fun to build and test and dispose of. And then this system was a lot of fun because we'd already built one and we knew what we had and knew what we needed. And so there were very few surprises. But it's all in all, it's going to be a great system. And then you can't see it on the table. There's another one, kind of a scaled down system. It's only an 8-port system. Yeah, 8-port system. Holy cow. And it'll be going out to a venue. Actually, I don't even know what venue it's going to. I'm just shipping it to the sign company, and they're going to send it out and install it. So that'll be fun. I always enjoy that. When we put together something like this, since each one is custom, they're not cookie cutter kind of things. We'll take a photograph of the inside and a photograph of the back plate, and then we'll draw on that photograph, all the notes that the installers need in order to make sure that they get things plugged into the right. I mean, we've had enough experience of saying, yeah, that we were able to drill a hole in the back of the, no, like, no. This is what we want you to do. Corey is asking, a laptop be sufficient? It depends. It depends on what you want to do. For example, if you say to me, Tom, I want to do 8 cameras of not necessarily of replay, but I want to do an 8-camera production, and a laptop would probably, if you get an i9 with Thunderbolt 3, I don't know if a Thunderbolt 3 will carry all 8 channels of video or not. I'd have to test that and see. I know it'll carry 4 channels of video, and so you can get a little Sonnet box that will attach to the laptop via a Thunderbolt cable, and then inside the Sonnet box you can put a capture card. That's a great way of getting multiple channels of video into a laptop. But it just depends on the specs of the laptop, Corey. I mean, it would be like, okay, Corey, I want to go race a car. Will I win? Will I win with the car? Well, Tom, tell me about the car. What kind of engine does it have? What are the tires? What's the chassis? Tell me about the transmission. Michael Graves says he doesn't think Thunderbolt 3 will do 8 channels, and that would be 8 channels of, I would think, 1080, 1080p, 30. You could fudge around maybe and get 8 channels of 720. I don't know. If you want sports, you probably want 720/60. So 720/60 is going to be as much data as 1080p 30, is it? Unless I've got my math wrong. I'll have to check. It's been a while. George says we need a Switchblade versus the ESP16 channel shootout. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we could do that. That would be fun. I'd have to get a Switchblade in here. I can see if Eric will send me one on spec. Marie says that she would say a laptop has limitations in the amount of equipment you can connect simply because of its lack of ports. And it's the Thunderbolt that really opens that up. You know, it's the Thunderbolt that opens that up. And as Michael has said, you know, it may not open it up that far. And Vitali says that the AMD 3960X has worked out well for him. Good to know that. Good to know that. Michael says, "Are you having you're having a hard time doing hardware upgrades on a laptop?" Yeah, there's not, you know, a lot of times there's not a whole lot you can do. Sometimes you'll have the ability to upgrade the memory. Sometimes you'll have the ability to upgrade the drive. I remember I had an old, oh gosh, Dell dual core laptop, and I upgraded the CPU. It was an AMD CPU, and I found somebody out there that was selling a used CPU that was the same, you know, the same number of pins, and was possible. And so I doubled the speed of my CPU in my laptop. Had to do some driver things that took me a while, and it was a little bit of a nightmare, but it was possible. And Ken says that, you know, NDIHX would do for more cameras, and that's a whole nother concept of, instead of using Thunderbolt, is to use Ethernet and attach your laptop to a switch, and then use the switch to connect to NDI. In Ken's example, NDI-HX cameras, and then getting 8 cameras in there should be a piece of cake. Yep, there you go. Yep. Michael says Thunderbolt 3 is only 4 PCIe lanes, so there you go. So you can put an 8-port card in there, but you're only going to get probably 4. Yeah. Michael had that same laptop years ago. I think I still have it. In fact, I booted it up a year or 2 ago because I needed something off of it, and it booted right up. Hard drive just spun around. Patrick says, "Is the school using control surfaces for switching and replay on this system?" Yes. It's actually the city of Daytona Beach owns the stadium and provides it. And it's going to provide this as service to the local schools. And in fact, local schools, including Bethune-Cookman, are going to have their control teams come in and operate this. So we'll be doing training with a good portion of them. But the main switcher will be the X-Keys XKE124 T-Bar. I think I've got the model number right. And that'll be set up in a traditional switcher fashion, with preview, you know, a row of preview, a row of program keys, and a row of graphics, and a row of overlays, as well as some programmable buttons, which in vMix is just shortcuts. And then it'll have a second control surface for the instant replay, which will be the X-Keys XK. Is it XK64 or XKE64? I don't remember. Anyway, it's the instant replay version of that, which, by the way, has been updated to match the new update in vMix with 8-camera instant replay, although it doesn't do 8-camera buttons, but it does split the A and B and has some other improvements to it, and has a way to kind of handle the 8 cameras. So yeah, I've played with it a little bit, but I'm not proficient with it yet. Michael says, "Dante and video on different NICs." That's a good question. I'm not sure how they're handling that, but we'll use that. Otis says, "Have you used Autonate AV?" And I have not. I have not personally, but I know people that have. Yeah. Is there an upgrade kit for the X68 keys? Yes, I think there is. It's only 4 keys. And it comes with the new systems. And Michael, I will check into that and see if that's available. If it is, I'll find it. I'll send you one. Vitali has a Blackmagic DeckLink Quad HDMI recorder 4K PCIe capture card in an XL Little Brother T3 chassis, and it does 4 channels of 4K with no problems. Hey, that's great. That's great. That's the bomb. That's the bomb. And you know, it's a tricky thing. We've got specs that manufacturers put out there to inform, but also in some ways to protect themselves. To say, you know, this is the spec, and if you happen to get more out of it than the spec, great. But this is the spec. This is what we say you can get. Tom needs more monitors at the church. 3 is not enough. Tommy, that tickles me. But seriously, depending on what you're doing, if you need a video output to go to a projector or to a TV or something like that, and you have a PCIe single slot open inside your PC, take a look at the DeckLink Mini monitor, because it will do an HDMI output. Now you want to make sure in vMix that you haven't used up all your outputs there, or that your version of vMix will support multiple external outputs. So double check on that. And if that's, you know, if that's all Greek, shoot me an email and we'll chat about it. Yeah, there we go. Well, look, guys, I've loved hanging out with you, and we're going to move to post-show and hang out just a little bit more. So stay right there. Don't go away. Okay, we are back. So Michael says, if you use the Blackmagic monitor, what will be the expected delay in frames? I don't know off the top of my head, but I will say it is likely that if you were to use the Blackmagic Mini monitor as a video output, that would have more latency, more delay in it than as compared to using, for example, the HDMI port on your video card. Martin Sinclair from vMix has always promoted the shortest path with the least latency is directly out from the video card. And you say, oh, well, Tom, you know, I'm using that video card for a certain special something, whatever that might be. Maybe it's for your multi-view or you know, a second monitor view. Well, then consider maybe using a Blackmagic Mini monitor for that purpose and using an output from your video card to go to a projector or TV or video board or something like that. So yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Tom says he's using a USB to VGA adapter. Ah, well, that's a good way around it. Now that does, you know, that can saturate the USB bus, so be careful there. And it probably has a significant amount of latency in it, would be my guess, just right off the top of my head. So yeah. So Tommy is stuck using donated monitors from friends. I think, Tommy, you just need a higher class of friends. Call me up and let's see what we've got in the back room. Maybe we've got something that is older. Although, you know, some of the dinosaurs that we have around here that, you know, it's funny, the stuff that you will use in your own studio that you wouldn't think about asking somebody else to use in theirs. Yeah, Larry is using an ultra wide. Oh, using ultra wide monitor. Yeah, that's slick because then you can get more. You've got more real estate, um, and if you've got more real estate, then yeah, you can do a little bit more with it. Okay, so let's see. Vitali says, I was expecting maybe 4 at 1080p, no problem, and was really surprised that it handled 4 at 4K with no problem. That's great. That's great. And again, um, it's a old thing versus, here's the written spec and then here's the real world. Um, and the real world also may be that, hey, something may overheat, something else may be compromised as a way of you using all that horsepower over here. Um, it just all depends. Since you don't show the service in the service, latency is not a problem. There you go. All right. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. That makes sense. It's when you're trying to show it that the latency becomes a problem. Yep. Okay. Oh, so that's right. Patrick's building a new trailer. Very good. A ruby, and a diamond. All right. Yeah, you should be able to find that Silverstone. It did take me a while to get it, and I had to wait for it to come. And I don't remember where I got it from, but it took a while. It was probably 3 weeks in getting it. Yeah, so you'll have to have kind of patience. 350 on Amazon. Yeah, I think you can do better than that. And of course, the trick is with any of this kind of stuff is once you've got the model number and you know exactly what it is you want, then you Google the heck out of the model number, and you find that distributor out in West Texas that reps Silverstone and has the ability to, if they don't have it in stock, at least to get a hold of it, and that depending on your time frame. That may be, what you're up against. Michael wants to steal some of your secrets. So, no, it would be lovely, Patrick, to see some of the pictures of the trailer that you're working on right now. Yep. Yep. And he will post that shortly. That's it. And that'll be in the Streaming Idiots group. If you're not a member of the Streaming Idiots group, I would encourage you to come take a look. Well, actually, you probably can't take a look until you join, but come on and join, and we'll have a lot of fun. It's on Facebook. If you just do a Facebook search for Streaming Idiots, it'll come out. And basically, it started out as being fans of this program, and then it kind of morphed into kind of a general, hey, I'm trying to do live streaming. I'm an idiot. Can I hang out with you? and it's taken on a life of its own, and that's good. That's good. That's good. Let's see what Vitale says. Tom, do you have an HDMI out empty on the video card? This particular build, yes. But it just depends on what your specs are. And in this particular build that we were talking about, the Super Beast, it's got 4 outputs on the video card, 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. Now the display ports can be adapted, as can the HDMI, to HDMI or to DVI. It might be a little tougher to adapt them to VGA, but it probably could be done. So yeah, it's kind of funny, they're monitors that you can buy, brand new monitors you can buy today that have VGA ports on them. And they probably have, HDMI or DisplayPort or something like that on them also. Yeah, Tommy, there is pain. There's always pain. Yes. Yes. Marie and Jan started this group a while back, and And I remember them saying, golly, if we could just get 50 people in this group, it'd be really great. It would really be great. And at that point, there was sort of a very, I would say, small community of Streaming Idiot, kind of the core, and it was probably 50 people. And I think that was the way it started out. But you know how it is, you get something good and everybody wants a piece of it, and now it's got 6,000 people, although not all of them are active, so don't be blown away like that. So Michael is currently, he's changing an old camping trailer to an OB wheel. Good deal. Well, we want to see pictures. We want to see pictures. And it's interesting, I've seen a lot of people, Patrick and now Michael and others that have got these kind of projects going. But a year ago or a year and a half ago, everybody was talking about, virtual. Everything is being done virtually because nobody's on site for anything. And now we're beginning to get a little back to normal. That's good. That's good. We had those chats on Chatwing. I remember a good old Chatwing. Sometimes it would work, and then that one Wednesday it just disappeared. It was never to be heard of again. Got bought out by somebody and changed all the codes. And then, we all got lazy because YouTube would do it for us and Facebook would do it for us. And yeah, but even on the recordings for this in Facebook, you can still get the chat, which is really kind of nice. How about that? I guess I need to look up here if I'm going to look at it. Or look there. I need to have a dot over there on the wall so that I can look at if I want to look at something that's on the screen. Found you on Facebook. Yeah, the trick is, the marketing principle that we use is called marketing by putting yourself in the path of traffic. Is figure out where are people looking? Okay, well, let's go where they're looking. It's like fishing where the fish are. Yeah, if you're a fisherman, you say, where do you go fish? Well, you go fish where the fish are. You don't spend your life trying to attract fish. You just go where the fish are. That's where you fish. Not a problem. Not a problem. That is the key, though. Is there ports available? Are there ports available? Yep. Interesting stuff. Well, guys, I need to wrap up because I need to get this PC dusted off and ready to take with me on Friday. Here's a question from Hector. Welcome, sir. How can I reduce latency switching with vMix on a live LED? Yeah, that's a great question. And when you think about it, it's really like a chain. And every component is a part in that chain. It starts with the camera, and it goes to the cable that connects the camera to the PC. And then in the PC or somewhere is a capture card. And that capture card is spinning the video into vMix, and then vMix processes it and then sends it out, and it might send it out through the video card. It might send it out through NDI. It might send it out through a video output card like the Blackmagic Mini monitor. The more links in that chain, the more latency there is between live and the time it shows up on the LED. So the trick is to reduce the links in the chain and also find the links that have the least amount of latency. For example, if your camera is connected to a external capture card that plugs into your PC over USB 3 probably. I guess, it would USB 3. Then you're probably adding a lot of latency right there. And you could have less latency if your camera was connecting to a capture card that was installed inside your PC. And some capture cards have more latency than other capture cards. Check the specifications. Sometimes you have to dig way down deep into the specifications to find out what the latency is. I would say a target would be to find a capture card that had about 50 milliseconds of latency. Might be less, might be more, but somewhere in that time frame. What we'll find is that people begin to notice that a screen is out of sync compared to live, if they can see them both at the same time, when the latency reaches about 150 milliseconds. If you're doing 30 frames a second, 150 milliseconds of latency is going to be about 5 frames of video. So 5 frames of video, and it looks like it's out of sync. At 3 frames, you can kind of get away with it. Well, 3 frames of video at 30 frames a second is going to be 90 milliseconds. There's your goal. And if you want to know what your system has, take a laptop or something like that can display a countdown timer that shows milliseconds, and put that right next to a monitor that shows the camera image, and then point the camera at the laptop and the camera at the same time, and at the laptop and at the monitor, so that you can see both of those in the camera shot, and then take a picture with your phone and compare the 2 times, and that'll tell you what the latency is in milliseconds. Yeah, I've probably made it more complicated than it really is. All right, guys. Well, I need to run, but it's been super fun hanging out with you, and I can't wait until we can hang out again. Next week I will be on the road, so I'll be doing a remote show from after we go to Daytona Beach. We're heading up to Virginia to see my mom, so we'll hang out with her for a while. That'll be next Wednesday from Charlottesville, Virginia. So look forward to seeing you next week on the remote. If you have any questions you can think I can help with, shoot me an email. You can get a hold of me at easternshorebroadcasting.com. There's a contact form there. And I think my email address there, and I think even my phone number's there. Can you imagine that? An actual phone number where you can call and speak to somebody? Unheard of. Anyway, that's the story. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.